Hello, listeners. This is Kat, and welcome back to Put Your Hands Up Podfics. This will be the continuation of Spirit. This will be Part 17, Chapter 17, entitled Horizon. Explain to me what the hell you two were thinking, Aizawa says furiously, looking at Shoto and Izuku with his arms crossed over his chest. They had made it back to UA after a few hours and had been met at the gates by nearly the full UA staff. Hizashi had clamped quirk-suppressing cuffs on Dabi so fast the villain couldn't react, and now he, Izuku, Shoto, Aizawa, and Hizashi are in Nezu's office. Dabi rolls his eyes from the chair he is sitting in, the cuffs preventing him from doing anything with his quirk. Oboro standing behind him, only visible to Izuku just in case the villain tries anything. "It's my fault, sir," Shoto says instantly. "Izuku was just helping me." "Nice try, but Izuku, you're the one who lied to me," Aizawa says firmly. "I'm disappointed in you, kid. You should have been honest with me." Izuku winces, looking down at his hands. "I'm sorry, Dad. I just thought it was the right thing to do." "Even so, you should have told us," Hizashi says quietly. "You could have been caught. You could have been killed. It was reckless." Dabi sighs, looking extremely annoyed. "If we're done with the whole parent shtick, I came here to give you fucking information. Do you want it or not?" Nezu looks at Dabi calmly, resting his chin on his paws as he stares at him for nearly a solid minute without blinking. "And why would you agree to give us this information all of a sudden?" Nezu finally asks, the tension in the room growing a little. "After being a villain for so long, it's surprising." Dabi narrows his eyes. "Look, the kids came to get me. Blame that ghost fuck. He's the one who messed with my damn head." Izuku looks over at Oboro, who just shrugs, walking over to touch Izuku's shoulder. Dabi freezes when Oboro comes back into view, the other staring at Oboro's see-through form next to Izuku. "I just shared some of my emotions with him," Oboro says calmly. "Reminded him of how a big brother should act, that's all. Mellowed you out, right?" "Fuck off," Dabi says, although Izuku thinks it doesn't sound very threatening. "Look, I'm just here because as fucked as Hero Society is, I'm not down with destroying all of Japan. Maybe just some parts of it, namely Endeavor and anyone he associates with." Shoto nods, looking like he agrees with that statement. Aizawa just sighs, rubbing his forehead, while Izuku stands still, waiting for someone to start asking Dabi questions. "Is Tsukauchi here yet?" Hizashi asks. Nezu nods. "Yes, he's just arrived. He's with Hawks. They'll be here shortly." Dabi groans, leaning back in his chair and staring at the ceiling. Izuku's still taken aback by the whole situation, hardly able to believe that he and Shoto had managed to actually get Dabi to come with them thanks to Oboro. He'd been hopeful, but if he's being honest, he really didn't think that it would work this well. A few minutes later, Hawks enters with a detective at his side. Nezu grins at them, but Hawks' eyes are on Dabi, winking at the villain before sitting across from him. "Long time no see, hot stuff." Hawks flashes a grin. "It's been what, 2 weeks? 3? Dabi just sighs as he replies. "I hate you so much." Izuku's not sure what kind of relationship Dabi and Hawks have where Hawks could tease him like this, but he supposes if Hawks had been going undercover to get intel, it's possible he could have run into Dabi before. "Detective, thank you for coming," Nezu says to Tsukauchi. "We appreciate you being here on such short notice." "Of course," Tsukauchi says, sitting in a chair across from Dabi. Dabi looks a little suspicious, but he stares the detective down, watching as he pulls out a sheet of paper from his briefcase, along with a small recording device. "My name is Tsukauchi, and my quirk is called True Man," he says, looking at Dabi. "I'm able to detect whether or not someone is being truthful." Dabi snorts. "Useful. Figures you'd be a fucking cop." "All right, lie detector, what do you want to know?" Tsukauchi begins by asking Dabi to confirm a few things that the heroes already know from Hawks. The PLF's numbers, the members of the League of Villains, where the PLF headquarters are located. Once he's established a baseline of truth, he moves on to the more hard-hitting questions. "Is Tomura Shigaraki still loyal to all for one?" Tsukauchi asks, point blank. Dabi shrugs. "I don't really know. I hardly ever saw the guy. Shigaraki's always called him sensei, seems to see him like a mixture between a parent, a teacher, and a fucked-up god. If I had to guess, I'd say yes, given the police or his sensei. He'll pick his sensei." Tsukauchi writes something down before continuing his line of questioning. "What, in your opinion, if anything, would stop the PLF from carrying out their plan of attack?" Dabi is quiet for a moment before he says, "Numbers. Bringing in heroes from other countries. That was always the biggest threat. The plan was to carry out a surprise attack, damaging Japan to the point where it'd be so chaotic they couldn't call for help. At least, not through proper channels. If enough pros around the world show up, I think it'd cause a massive rift. That or killing Oliver one. He's the fucker behind all this anyway. Izuku's stomach clenches when he remembers Endeavor suggesting the same thing Dabi just did, about bringing in foreign heroes, and he decides not to say anything. Mentioning Endeavor in any capacity was probably a bad idea right now. Tsukauchi nods before asking, "What is your goal, Dabi?" "To end Endeavor," Dabi says simply. "Whether it's by killing the bastard, getting his ass thrown in jail, shooting him with so many quirks of presence he can never make a fire again, or just breaking his spirit. I want him gone. For good." Tsukauchi nods, although he looks grim. "All right. Thank you for your cooperation. Everything you said was true. Nezu, I think you can take it from here." Nezu grins. "Understood." The next few days are chaotic, to say the least. Aizawa and Hisashi are still angry with Izuku for lying, so he's effectively grounded, only allowed out at the apartment to go to class. The rest of the time he's home, doing chores, watching Eri, and doing homework. There isn't much they can do to stop Oboro from leaving, though, so Izuku's updated on what's going on. Dabi and Hawks have teamed up, both working together to spread misinformation and lies amongst the PLF ranks. Nothing huge, just little whispers here and there to cause a stir. Slander, lies, all things that would cause anyone not dead set on the cause to abandon it. Meanwhile, Japan's pros put out a secret all-call-out to the pro heroes from other nations, and soon it's all over the news that the top heroes from the USA, Mexico, Canada, Russia, Belize, France, India, Korea, Australia, China, and Uruguay would all be there within the day. Of course, such a large number of pros brings suspicion, and the Hero Public Safety Commission of Japan releases a statement. "We have information that states a villain organization is planning a large attack," the commission representative says to reporters. "We're taking every precaution to make sure this doesn't occur. Citizens are urged to pay attention to the news and keep your safety alerts on in case evacuations are necessary." Oboro tells Izuku that despite this warning, and the pros, there are still a few thousand PLF members ready to fight. Much less imposing than the 100,000 mentioned a few weeks ago, but still worrying enough to be a major problem. They find out that the plan to attack has been moved up, and the PLF is looking to strike within 3 days. "Oboro, we need you and Izuku," Hisashi says one evening, although it looks like it hurts him to say. "Izuku, you are not allowed to get injured, do you hear me? We need you on lookout duty. I'm sure the PLF will bring lots of ghosts along with it." "I understand," Izuku says seriously. "I promise, I'll stay safe, Dad." The day of the battle, the air is still. It's a cool morning, crisp and clear, and the city has been emptied, the citizens evacuated to the northern part of the country. A third of Japan's heroes go with the civilians while the rest build up the front lines, all looking out towards the oncoming horde of villains. Izuku's in the back, along with the rest of his class, as backup. There's medical teams standing by, and everyone has strict orders of what to do. The foreign pro heroes are standing in front, like a protective barrier, interspersed with Japan's top 10. Dabi is next to Hawks in the front, incognito in a costume that covers his face and body, so he won't be recognized as a villain. Izuku wonders how Hawks managed to get Dabi from, reluctantly, helping them to fighting on their side, but he figures it doesn't matter, as long as it worked. "The calm before the storm," Oboro murmurs from behind Izuku. "You feeling all right, kid?" "Yes," Izuku says honestly, looking out at the army approaching them in the distance. "We have the upper hand, and we're prepared. And if any of them try to sneak around us and take us by surprise, you and I will see their ghosts before they can." Oboro grins before he snaps his fingers. "Actually, kid, I think there's something else we can do. I know you're supposed to stay back here, but I think you and I can add some protection to the heroes." Izuku turns to look at him curiously before asking, "How?" "Well, who else can summon the dead to fight for them?" Oboro smirks, watching Izuku's eyes widen. "I can think of 40 restless spirits who owe you a lot for helping Stain get captured. I'm sure they'd be more than willing to fight." "Stain's victims?" Izuku asks, unaware that his apparent one-sided conversation has been overheard by some of his classmates, all looking intrigued and a little confused. "But who's to say they'll actually be able to fight? It took us years to figure out how to use your quirk." Oboro smiles, gently squeezing Izuku's shoulder. "You can do it, kid. It's worth a try, right?" Izuku nods, and he begins walking through the ranks of heroes, ignoring his classmates, calling his name. They're far enough back that Oboro eventually summons a cloud for him to ride, taking him right to the front where the pro heroes are standing. Izuku's spine shivers when he spots All Might in the distance, his 7 disturbing ghosts all staring at Izuku intensely. He ignores them, accepting he'll never really understand what's going on with the former number 1. before he lands directly at Endeavor's feet. "What are you doing here?" Endeavor asks, sounding thoroughly annoyed. "You should be back in the back with the other students." Hisashi turns and stares, eyes widening when he sees Izuku. Aizawa hears the commotion and comes over as well, his eyes narrowing. "Phantom, go back now," Aizawa says, sounding stressed. "Kid, do you not see the giant army coming our way?" Izuku nods. "That's why I'm here. I can help." He doesn't wait for a response before he closes his eyes, trying to reach the ghosts that he saw on the road all that time ago. He's not really sure how he does it, but he calls to them, his heart tugging when he feels their presence. "It's you," Cobra, the dead hero that had first warned Izuku about Stain, says. "You were the one that saved that hero child from Stain." "Yes, that's me," Izuku says calmly, watching all 40 ghosts appear in front of him, one by one. "I'm calling you to fight. There's a terrible threat to our city, to all of Japan. We could use the help." "We'll help," Cobra says, looking out towards the army. "We're heroes. We will help." Izuku grins and he hears the heroes around him gasp as the ghosts suddenly become visible. Izuku feels a drain on his own energy, knowing the ghosts are connected to him somehow, manifesting because he's willing them to. "Holy shit, kid," Aizawa says, staring at the ghosts who move to stand next to the other pro-heroes. You're pretty unbelievable." Izuku just smiles, standing between both of his parents before his smile fades to determination, looking the approaching battle head on. He may not understand fully how his quirk works yet, but he's more than grateful for it at this moment. Because of his ghosts, they'll win. They have to. All right, listeners, this concludes Chapter 17 of Spirit. Just 2 more chapters to go. Chapter 18 will be up next. Hope you all are still enjoying this fic, and as always, thank you so much for listening.